I want to take you back to a long time ago, 1963 to be exact. And I'm going to put a photo up of a plane. This was the mission plane, the first mission plane to end up in Papua New Guinea, 1963. Looks a bit worn out there, and it is, because it's 62 years old. That plane is still parked in Kurumbong in a shed. I like the number plate, VHSDA. The same month that that plane ended up in New Guinea was the same month that I ended up in New Guinea. But I was a bit smaller. I was about that long. I was 3-4 months old, but we ended up in New Guinea at the same time. Little did I know, at that time, I would spend many hours in that plane. Because we lived in the highlands of New Guinea. My dad was a missionary. First of all, lived in a place called Yarlabu. We were the first white missionaries in that part of PNG. Well, I don't remember much of it at all, because I was too little. I've looked back at some photos, and Mum tells me some stories. When we first went to that house, there was no drinking water. Well, there was a tank. The house had been built, but the builder had actually dropped the tank when he put it in, and it had a hole in the bottom. So whenever it rained, the water went straight in and straight out. And he also had a cat that had fleas. So we moved into this house full of fleas with no water. It was pretty tough back in those days for missionaries. Here's another photo of that same plane and Pastor Len Bernard, who was the pilot of that plane. He was the man who actually was inspired to bring that plane to PNG. Raised funds, brought that plane. And that picture on the right is kind of where I lived, up in the highlands of New Guinea. We lived above the height of Mount Kosciuszko, so it's nearly 7,200 feet. Visitors and guests that came to visit us would struggle to breathe, and we thought, what's wrong with you guys? We're okay, because we lived there. I remember flying with Pastor Bernard as I grew up a little bit, and 3 and 4 and 5, and right through till I was 9. And I remember going down these valleys, because you can see the cloud in the mountains, and going down the valleys, and Pastor Bernard would say, when you look out at the right side, in about 30 seconds, you will see a plane crash. Thank you. And I remember Mum sitting in the back with us kids and Dad's in the front. It was a 4-seater plane and there was 6 of us in there. I can remember looking out the window and seeing that plane crash into the side of a cliff and all the pieces down the cliff. Pastor Bernard said those people would have never been found. It was too rugged. You just couldn't get to those places. It was interesting living up there. I want you just to look at some of the dashboard of the plane. Now, not necessarily that plane. What does all that mean? Well, you could probably guess by some of the words. What does it mean? After Pastor Len Bernard, my uncle actually became a pilot and was flying in New Guinea as well. And my uncle told me that when he learnt to fly, he was actually told that he had to make sure that he always had his eye on the instruments. These things. And when he was learning to fly, his instructor said, we're going to go up into some cloud where you can't see anything, and I'm going to cover the instruments. And you've got to fly that plane straight for me. Well, he gets up into the cloud. He's flying the plane, and he believes he's flying straight, but actually he's not. He's going off course. It feels all right, but he's actually adjusting things just slightly because this is going for a few minutes. And it ended up that he is actually on quite an angle and heading directly off course. Check out this plane. Whoops, I think we've got a video issue, have we? It looks good, doesn't it? Flying with you can't see what's happening. We'll just see, maybe Leighton can sort that out. Not today? Okay. Well, I'll tell you... Oh, that's still going somewhere in the background. I'll tell you what that picture was about. It was about a 30-second shot of a little Cessna plane flying into a rain cloud. And the rain and the stuff hitting it, and it's getting bumped around, and you can really see why you needed to have those gauges to keep you on track. When you think about the Christian walk, what are your gauges? What are the gauges that keep you on track, or can keep you on track? And I want you to think about that as we go through and look at some of these high points from the great faith chapter, Hebrews 11. And I know Tony talked about Hebrews 12, which follows on from this. But Hebrews 11 sets up some of that core stuff of people of faith. Let's keep going. There's 7 points I want to share with you today. And the first one is simply believing when I don't see it. Are there times when you can't see what's going on in front of you? Like as in, what is the next month going to bring? Where am I tracking in life? Well, if we look at what Hebrews 11 verse 1 says, faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. So many things we can't see as we journey on in life. And then sometimes it's really hard in the Christian walk. You agree? Sometimes it's really easy too. We get both, and we get all extremes and the whole gamut. Let's keep going. Number 2, obeying God when I don't understand it. Who likes to obey? Okay, we won't go there. Sometimes, all right, you're driving on the freeway. How are we going? Who's obeying? It's 110. Okay. Who likes to go 118? Because, you probably won't get caught. No, we're not going there. Obeying God when I don't understand it. Hebrews 11 verse 7, in that same chapter, it says, it was by faith that Noah built a large boat to save his family from the flood. He obeyed God, who warned him about things that had never happened before. Did you get that? Never happened before? By his faith, Noah condemned the rest of the world and received the righteousness which comes by faith. I want you just to picture Noah. We know him. We know the story. God comes to Noah. Noah, can you build me a boat? What's a boat? I don't know what a boat is. What's a boat? I mean, we can't get our head around that really, because if you hadn't seen a boat before or knew what a boat was, God, what are you talking about? Well, I want you to build a very big boat. I want you to put all of these crazy, that's obviously not what it looked like, but all these crazy creatures in the boat. Right. How long is it going to take me? A while. Quite a few years. And while it's going, can you make sure you tell everyone about it? Because I want them to hop in the boat too. Oh, okay. He does it by faith. He had no idea what was going to happen. The animals hop in the boat. He hops in the boat. The door shuts. His family come. Not many others. Just a few family. And a whole lot of animals. And they probably didn't look as happy as that. Obeying God when I don't understand it. Now, verse 8 says, it was by faith that made Abraham obey when God called him to go out to a country which God had promised to give him. He left his own country without knowing where he was going. Ever not known where you're going? He left his own country. Abraham, pick up everything, family, all your animals, get them sorted. Next Thursday, we're leaving. Really? I don't know what day it was. But they left. Walking across a desert or whatever to go somewhere that you don't know where you're going. And then later we'll look at the whole concept of the stars. That comes a little bit later in the book. Obeying God when I don't understand it. Another one. Verse 29, it was by faith that the people of Israel walked through the Red Sea as though that was on dry ground. But when the Egyptians tried to follow, they all drowned. Can you imagine being one of those people trapped on the edge of the sea? What are we going to do, Moses? They're yelling at him by this point. Hey, we should have stayed in Egypt because we're going to all die now. God gives a way out, and who knows what it looked like, but crazy. They walked through by faith. Persisting when I don't feel like it. Ever sort of not felt like doing something? Those of you at school, assignment's due on Thursday and it's Wednesday afternoon. How you going? Persisting when I don't feel like it. It was by faith that Moses left the land of Egypt, not fearing the king's anger. He kept right on going because he kept his eyes on the one who was invisible. I want you just to think about that. Why was he able to keep on going? Because he kept his eyes on the one who is invisible, God. It was by faith that he left the land of Egypt, not fearing the king's anger. He kept right on going. Incredible. And you know the story. The story is massive. The story goes for decades. I'm sure there's times when Moses just wanted to give up, but he didn't. Persisting when I don't feel like it continued. Great examples of faith. What is faith? And this is the first verse of that whole chapter where it says, what is faith? It is the confident assurance of what we hope is going to happen. And I want you to pick up the whole thing. It's the confident assurance of what is going to happen. Do you have confident assurance of what is coming? Let's go on. Announcing it in advance before I have it. Listen to this one. Verse 22, it was by faith that Joseph, when he was about to die, confidently spoke of God bringing his people out of Egypt. He was so sure of it that he commanded them to take his bones when they left. Joseph. Righto, you guys, I'm going to die soon. But when you do get freedom, I'm not staying in Egypt. Can you take me with you? I'll just be a bag of bones, but I want to come. And they took him. The confident assurance. He confidently spoke. Joseph. Picture of the man. Who knows what he looked like? Probably better looking than that. Announcing it in advance before I have it. God announced to Abraham, I have made you the father of many nations. So Abraham believed the God who gives life to the dead and calls things that are not as though they were. Now, Abraham, we know the story. He's like 90-something. He's got no kids. God's told him he's going to have more, the children of Israel, right? Go and look at the stars because that's how big your family's going to be. Yeah, right, God. Yeah, right. Well, yeah, God's right. I want you just to picture it when he has got his only one and only son and he's told now to go and sacrifice him. I wouldn't be as good as him. I wouldn't have even attempted that, right? But he has this faith because I think he has an understanding of the bigger picture. They go up the mountain and God provides. But they get right to the spot. And you know where right to the spot was? Right to the spot is where Jesus was crucified. Same mountain, which comes to that same whole concept of why they were going there. It was an example of what was coming to save them. But here we have Abraham and Isaac, men of faith. We've got an issue with... oh, there we go. It was by... I think we clicked over one too. We'll see if we can go back. It's not talking to me. Is anyone up top? There we go. It was by faith that made Abel's offering to God a better sacrifice than Cain's. Through his faith, God approved of his giving. And this one was giving when I don't have it. Number 5, giving when I don't have it. How good are we at giving? Well, this church gives of their time well. You were very generous, and I saw that last night. Number 6, thanking God before I receive it. Thanking God before I receive it. In Hebrews 11 verse 30, it was by faith that the people of Israel walked around Jericho for 7 days and the walls came crashing down. Can you imagine that? Now, I want you to walk around Jericho, and then tomorrow you can do the same, and then the next day. 7 days, and when it comes to the end, we'll go a bit longer, and then we're going to blow some trumpets, and it's going to be all over. Well, they didn't even know that, but that's us looking back at the picture. How ridiculous. But God was fighting their battles for them, if only they leaned on God. And I want you just to picture, well, who knows what it really looked like, but massive walls just coming down, and people there with their ram's horns and making a noise, and the whole city falls down because God is leading. Crazy, but good. Also, you'll see the red cord, which is Rahab, a prostitute who is saved. And that just shows me what God's willing to do to save anyone. She becomes in the genealogy of Jesus. Incredible. Thanking God before I receive it. When you pray and ask for something, believe you received it and you will be given what you ask for. Now, this is a challenging one. Because, you know, like sometimes we pray and it doesn't work out exactly like we think it should. Sometimes it's really challenging. God knows the answers. Jesus said, because of your faith, it will happen. So how is our faith? How strong is my faith? Sometimes it's pretty weak. But our faith grows as we connect with Jesus. Jesus gives us all some faith. He actually says you've all got a measure of it. A measure of it. But if you really want to grow your faith, it's through connection on a daily basis with Jesus. And as I connect, my faith grows and I become stronger in that connection with Jesus. Trusting if I don't get it, the last one. Hebrews 11:39, right at the end of the chapter, and at some stage, if you get a chance today, read the whole chapter 11 again. These were all commended, all those people, and there was many more that were commended for their faith, yet none of them received that what had been promised. God had planned something better. You know, a time is coming when Jesus returns and that promise is fulfilled. But even all those people of faith didn't see it right there. They saw little snapshots of it, but ultimately they are still waiting like us for that return of Jesus. Oh, what's a can of sardines doing up there? It's always good to have a can of sardines. When I was a pathfinder, and I've always been a pathfinder since I was 9.75, snuck into Pathfinders just a bit early, although Mum pulled me back and wouldn't let me go till I was 10. Now go forward to, I was in my 20s and I was a chaplain of a Pathfinder club, Dora Creek Pathfinders. And we were out on a Pathfinder camp. It's Saturday night, it's games night. It's fun, you bring your torches out and you're ready to go and have a heap of fun, and there was a game called sardines. That's why the can's up there. And if you don't know what sardines is simply one person runs off into the bush, you know, not too far away, and ducks down and hides behind a rock or a couple of plants or whatever, and doesn't say a word. Like, they're really quiet. And then the rest of the club has to then wander around and try and find that person. And when they find that person, they crouch down beside them, and this can of sardines gets a bit bigger, right? Because they're all crouching pretty close, trying to hide and keep quiet. But you know how many pathfinders it takes to make noise? 2. As soon as you get 2, the noise is on. And it doesn't take long for the game to end. It was my turn. I was to run into the bush. And I was going to make it so hard that no one could find me. I was going to show these pathfinders a thing or two. Put my torch away, because I wasn't going to even put it on for a second, because I know what pathfinders are like. They have little sneaky eyes looking to see where that light is so they can follow it. So I had a torch off, started walking, and then get into a jog, because I'd been around there that afternoon. I knew what was in the bush. Started jogging, started going really, really fast, and then all of a sudden, oops, I'd missed the rock heap. In fact, I didn't miss it. I hit it at full pelt, and I went splat into the rocks. Well, I remember I was quite embarrassed, because I had lots of cuts. And I got up, because as a good chaplain would, you would keep going. And I hid, but I remember it hurt a heck of a lot. And I was just thinking, you know what? I was trying to run that race, that game, trying to remember what was in front of me. But I missed it. I needed that torch. I needed that light to direct my paths so I could find where I was going. And there's a verse that just says, your word, God, your word is a lamp to guide my feet and a light for my path. Wow. Am I spending time in God's word? Because that's the light. That's the lamp. Am I flying my plane not looking at the gauges? What are the gauges? Is it the Word of God? Is it prayer? I was Googling pictures of Jesus, because I just like to see what people think. Because I have no idea what he looked like, and you know, there's all sorts of artist's impressions. I like this one because he's kind of looking at you. He's like those eyes that are just looking at you. But they're gentle eyes. Yeah. And then I Googled a few more, and I found this one, and I thought, you know, it's high school exam week, you know, year of 12. And I thought, yep, exam's tough. He's there. Then I found this one, and could be Tasmania with that mountain in the back, but who knows where it is. Jesus with his arm around someone. That's how I picture him, if he could be. Then there was this one. Hey, just having a laugh together. Jesus and us. Then this one. Little kiddo. Looking up into the eyes of Jesus. And then just the hand out. Come follow me. How are we going in our faith journey, our faith walk? Are we following the hand that wants to lead us along?